Hello, everybody. My name is Ajiman Jasante Goodman, and I am your host slash moderator for today's Black Advancement. Joining me on the screen today, we have Takara Mosley, we have
Hi.
Darian Robbins, and we have Greg Goodman.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. And once again, this is the Black Advancement, which is a nonprofit organization that seeks to combat problems within the Black community through action and dialogue, this being the dialogue portion. So today we're going to be focusing on the topic, actually revisiting the topic of justice or just us. And that's part of our Justice or Just Us section, actually, which is the first segment within the topic of this particular topic within our website. And this whole thing kind of centers around the contentious relationship between Black people and law enforcement. But before we get into our discussion today, I will hit you with the front street. Jaywalking. That's the crime that got an unarmed Black teenager killed by the police in Ferguson, Missouri. Police can slice it however they want to. They can try to justify it, say what happened. But in the most basic form, a child was killed for not walking across the street within a crosswalk. The outrage over this and other similar situations has brought to the forefront the injustices faced by Black and poor communities since the end of slavery. The dirty and unwritten truths believed in these communities is the entire system wants to destroy, defile, and disrupt any progress or possibility of progress for Black people and people in impoverished communities. But this line, I should say, of thinking, even if justifiable, only leads to more questions and more confusion. Is there a conspiracy against Black people from law enforcement? Is there really a vested interest in seeing the poor population remain in dire strays and situations? If not, why are the police so quick to over-police Black people in impoverished neighborhoods? The line of thought is the starting point to a new way of addressing an issue as old as America, and a question, I should say, as tough to answer as any that we currently are looking at now. So, with that being said, let's discuss if the attitude of just us is contributing to the destruction of the Black community. And with that, I will go into the first question, which is, does the Black community have a legitimate beef with the criminal justice system as a whole, law enforcement, courts, etc.? Or are the feelings of mistreatment exaggerated and or a figment of our collective psyche? And I'll have Greg go first. Greg, what do you think?
Of course, this is all our feelings are very justified. I mean, it's if you just look at the sentencing for the same crimes, the sentencing for Blacks is usually much longer, much harsher. And it's not something that even starts with law enforcement. This starts as a child in school. So anytime a Black child and a white child do the same thing, a Black child is usually punished longer, or not longer, but punished worse than the other child. And I think it's all a thing where the people that are in charge of these things, one, they've been taught to fear us, and two, they don't understand us.
Hmm.
So that is their justification for doing what they're doing. And that is also because they've been miseducated throughout the system that we've all been miseducated through.
Hmm.
So, of course, we're have every right to feel the way that we have. It shows up in every situation, statistically, financially, mental health wise, all kinds of ways.
Indeed. Darian, what do you think?
I'm in agreement. I think the police and how they have viewed black community is definitely something that's been we are justified in believing that it's been overdone and way more we're way more police. The community is way more police than other communities that's in America, and I think that carries through the history of policing in my mind. And I don't think that we are unjustified in pointing that out or pointing to our individual and collective experiences in that manner. You know what I mean? There's even though I like to remind people that the majority of when they talk about prison populations and those getting arrested, the majority of Black Americans are not in that prison system, unlike the propaganda that's thrown through us through media and other sources. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that, the rate of how we are arrested for, and also, as Craig pointed out, the length of crimes that we are sentencing that we're associated with, there's a definite disparity in that aspect that leans towards it being a lot more heavier sentences and heavier policing on from the police on our communities. That's just something that I don't think can be disputed. And also too, we shouldn't feel the need to ever. I look at it this way: when our experiences, we should be able to. We shouldn't have to wait or count on anybody else to justify or verify these things for us. I mean, I think we're more than capable of seeing things as they are in our experiences, and like I said, individually and collectively, and being able to remark and say, yeah, that feels wrong. You know what I'm saying? That feels like we're being penalized more. It feels like we're being focused on more in certain aspects, even from like jaywalking to other misdemeanors. I think you'll probably at some point in time touch on like the broken windows concept as far as policing is concerned, and what that leads to in terms of law enforcement justifying uh, picking up people off the street, doing unlawful searches, and focusing on Black Americans or people of color to say, hey, well, we're getting it at the low level so that it doesn't stop, so it doesn't grow to be something more at a higher level of infractions. I mean, I think it's been proven in the past that it's nothing but harassment for the most part, in my mind. And but the fact that they still like to circle back to these things, it belies other intentions in my mind that maybe I think we'll probably get into, but I'll let the rest of the panel weigh in on that aspect.
Takara.
I definitely think it's, a very valid experience for African American people that we are not treated equally in the justice system. It's very real. And anybody who, I mean, you could look anywhere as far as like looking up statistics to see about sentencing, which Greg talked about earlier, because they definitely hand out harsher sentences, right, for African American people. Even the amount of charges, and there's been talk about the bail system, um, monetarily, disproportionately affects, African American or, people of lower socioeconomic status, right? So, I mean, I think it's very real. And if you don't believe it, it's probably because you don't want to believe it. And just because you don't want to believe it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I think I'll end there.
Okay, that was quicker than I expected. As far as well, from the standpoint of this stereotypically, I'll say it stereotypically, people view black areas as high crime areas, so to speak. Do you think that there's any justification from looking at it from that angle of, well, this is where the crime's coming from, quote unquote?
Um, Usually it's higher crime areas because there's lower income areas. You go to any lower income area, there's going to be more crime. The trailer parks are just as dangerous as the projects. So it's an economic problem. What they fail to acknowledge is the people in the trailer parks had a 400-year head start. We've been held back, and that's the reason why we're in the projects. So they haven't acknowledged that at all with their assessment of our high crime areas. Our high crime areas is because you've made it so we're in a high crime area. Not to say that every Black person would be rich, wealthy, or well off, but there would certainly be a lot less if you hadn't burnt down all of our successful neighborhoods and kept us out of institutions and kept us from being hired. And when we did get hired, kept us from being promoted. So there's that. They have not looked at the whole aspect of everything involving, like, once again, they haven't looked at their involvement in our struggle. They just think this is happenstance. And that's only that's only the ignorant ones. The ones that actually know what's going on know exactly how it happened, but they keep feeding the ignorant ones this information because they know they're too ignorant to go figure it out themselves.
I'd like to get into that a little bit later. Anyone else in this before I go maybe to the guy on the couch?
Hey.
Well, I'll just say this. I think anytime you start focusing on anything, more than anything else, you're going to see and find and so, start scrutinizing things, more heavily, you're going to see and find things that you never would have found or looked at casually. So again, to me, it gets back to that over policing aspect. They're focusing those resources on those areas. So they took some time to focus resources on crime in general. You know what I'm saying? I think it would probably take them all over the place, even into minority neighborhoods. I mean, I think about, I wish I kind of would have been a little bit more better prepared for this discussion, but I think about this. There was a crime that happened a couple of years back where, how they're showing like all these young people how they rush these department stores
Oh
and
yeah,
do like this like mass
the
grab it,
boosters.
yeah, grab and run.
Smash
You know
and
what I'm
grab,
saying?
Smash and grab.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There you go. Thank
smash
you.
and grab, snap and run, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Well, so they're focusing on that aspect of how, and don't get me wrong, that's, I mean, obviously that's a crime in terms of stealing is concerned. But one aspect of it that wasn't, kind of related to was that they found there was a white couple in the suburbs somewhere that was, like from these smash and grabs of these places, they were taking these items, and I think they were like, stuff from like Target, fake, these other stores, and they're reselling them on like Amazon. You know what I'm saying? It's like a white
Mm.
couple that was doing like millions of dollars worth, moving millions of dollars worth of merchandise that was coming from like, stuff like these smash and grabs or being stolen at these lower levels. They're organizing together, putting it on Facebook or these other places and selling millions of dollars worth of merchandise. They finally got caught them, but at the same time, you're looking at when you look at these lower level things, are it's you're so the wonder is there is that I'll call him a racketeering kingpin what I'm saying,
Yeah.
was their desire and their greed what facilitated going down, those folks stealing and taking those things to be able to feed into the organized crime aspect that they were putting together and are at the top of. That's the kind of stuff where, again, we're focusing, you're looking at that lower level, that lower crime or that lower level thing, and they're not paying attention to what does it feed into. I think it's always for definitely for us coming up in the 80s where he's talking about, okay, where the black folks get the boats to bring in the crack. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not that black folks don't got boats or much,
There's a
but
bunch of black folks with no passports getting Colombian cocaine. That's
right. You know what I'm
crazy.
saying? So it's like, okay,
I got Colombian cocaine on me right now. Never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
at what level do you want to be able to address crime and various crimes and who perpetrates those crimes? That's a choice and a focus of resources.
Takari, anything before we go to the guy?
I think I definitely resonate with what Greg is saying about, the way it's more of a socioeconomic status problem,
Mm,
right? So oftentimes the narrative is like it's black people, and right now it's also the immigrants, right? I mean,
mm.
they kind of are blaming them for different kinds of crimes, but it's like they just kind of pick a scapegoat, and people just kind of go along with it because I think we just are kind of learning that people, I'll call them sheep. That's the kind word.
Mm.
Yeah, white people they're very confusing with their anger. Their claim
Yeah,
is these lazy immigrants that aren't working are stealing all our jobs. It's a really weird thing that they got going.
exactly. So I mean, people I think tend to believe what they want to believe. But I mean, it is true that lower socioeconomic status, you're going to see more crime. But like you
Mm.
say, is multi-layered. There's a lot, right, to unpack that goes into that. Like you say, it's not just the people, but it's the lack of resources. It's
Lack
the
of investment.
number.
Lack of
Yeah, yeah, the
investment.
lack
The
Yeah.
of
lack of investment,
investment.
the redlining, all those things
Yeah,
being
it's
shut out.
right. So, and like you say, that's been created by society, and then people just kind of stand by and look at it, and people just, yeah, it's a huge systemic problem.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Agreed,
go to the
agreed.
guy. I'm gonna go to the guy on the couch. Guy on the couch for the first one. What you got?
All right, this is from Madder Than Hell. I feel that Black people have a legitimate beef with the criminal justice system because In a lot of ways, the criminal justice system was created to keep whites safer when Black people were granted freedom at the end of civil wars. White folks, in particular, the white male, landowners that created this country, and in fact, this system, have long feared retaliation for their crimes against humanity, in particular against Black people. This fear has led to gun laws pertaining to Black people, harsher sentences directed towards Black people, and a greater police presence in Black neighborhoods. That's why we are the usual suspects. I warn our kids of how to act around the police and why I feel the beef is legit.
Okay. What was the name of that that one?
Madder than hell.
Madder than hell. Does anybody have anything to follow up for Madder than hell? I think this first name is Matter. Anyway. Go on.
I agree with Mr. Hell. Or Mrs. Hell.
Or Mrs.
It
Hell.
may be.
Yes, yes.
I think that's a good contrast, though, that people maybe should acknowledge is what the guy on the couch said at the end is that Black people have to teach their children how to interact with the police. It's not something that white people have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that in of itself tells you that our lived experience is very different when it comes to police versus, I mean, that you have to think about this with your child, as far as parenting, whereas white people, it's not an issue for them.
And that's such a I gotta say, I'm just gonna do this and I'll go to the plug, but as a Black person, like it never dawned on me like that they've never had to talk about law enforcement at all. Like I'm like, yo, what kind of life are you living where you're not like you don't have any discussions about law enforcement? I mean, like I
Other than
understand.
the law enforcement is their friend. Like me and this guy I work with, a Mexican fella. Me and him were talking about getting pulled over, and this other guy, white dude, his experiences are totally different. He's talking about going through his car and grabbing all this stuff. We're like, what are you trying to get shot in the face? 10 and 2, better keep your hands on that steering wheel. And he's like, it's not that bad. And me and Frank are looking at him like, this dude is out of his damn mind. But then again, our experiences are different. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
their level of relaxation and calm that they can have around law enforcement is almost disrespectful to law enforcement.
I don't disagree with that last statement. You know what? I'll just go ahead. I'll plug the website real quick. The website is www.blackadvancement.com. When you're there, you can go to a bunch of different tabs, such as the research section. The research section is for when we actually are having these discussions like we're having today. But if you don't feel like you know enough about it, there's different articles and sources that you can use within our research section itself. We also have the topic section, which anybody can give a topic to if you feel the need or you see a problem or an issue that you feel like is in the Black community, you can suggest a topic to us and we may raise it in one of these great roundtables that we have. Another tab you can also hit is the events, which just kind of goes through the stuff that we do on a monthly basis, month by month. And last but not least, our In History section, which basically is a shrunk down history book of things that you probably didn't learn in school. So all that being said, we're going to go on to question number 2. Question number 2, and this one's for you, Darian, since you kept bringing it up all the time. Do you feel a heavy police presence in an impoverished or predominantly Black communities is necessary or a ploy against the poor people and Black people? Why or why not?
Do I think it's a ploy? I think if it's not requested by the community, then yes.
Okay.
I think if there's not a relationship between the community and community leaders in that where they have specifically worked with them. Let's say, and I'm not saying there's not any crime, that's not worth investigating in those areas but I think if it's not something that's engaged with the community and the community is asking the police for it, I'm going to remain suspicious of it and of its intention. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just me. I just I think that part of what makes I think policing, if you know, if necessary, successful in a community, is that there is some partnership with the community, because everybody in that community, I don't believe everybody in that community is bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do believe even within communities there are bad actors, and those who that you know that the community, most of the community, I think, would want them, you know, have things to be addressed, but to the point where it's oppressive, and you know and that they are, like, again, to the point of harassment, or you know, checking everybody, or I think that portion is oppressive. That's why I think there needs to be, if there's not some engagement between the community and the police force itself, and they, like I said, they're enacting a heavy presence, and it's not requested from the community. I just think there's an issue. I might have an issue, or will be questioning their intention with that.
Mm.
And I want to jump back real quick and just add one other point, like what Takar was saying about how we have to educate, you know, we educate our kids or our folks about how to be interacting with police. I think we also take it on ourselves as a community that we also should be educating our kids and anyone else about our own history. I don't think it is, you know, and I think it's incumbent upon ourselves to be able to, what we are generally fed in terms of the normal schooling system is not enough. I mean, you know, I know my parents and other mentors I've had have, you know, pointed to me the whole entirety of let's just say American history, if not human history, good and bad, and when I to be able to consider and what to look out for,
Mm-hmm.
that plays into the things that I'm saying right now, or how I conduct myself now or going forward, such that, you know, I like to say that I'm not a believer in the propaganda of American history. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of it is. I mean, when you people talk about the founding fathers, you know what I'm saying? Yes, they founded the country. There's also a good more portion of slaveholders, you know what I'm saying? Human traffickers, if you will, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So that, and people get upset when you mention that because you are aware of those things, or woke to understand the reality of it, and they just can't. That's the truth. You know what I'm saying? It is. And for those of us who accept that and utilize that in our everyday, how we conduct ourselves and how we view things, it can be problematic for folks. But hey, I mean, that's what history is. There's good and bad aspects to it. But depending on what you want to utilize it for, how you want to carry it forward, is what, you know, how you got to use it, and how what benefit it will have to you and your community.
I'm gonna
Right.
go
They
on.
were bad then
Yeah.
and they're bad now.
Mhm.
And they just do not want to admit it. It's like,
Yeah,
listen, like, could y'all please stop trying to act like this stuff didn't happen? Like, everybody just delusional and crazy because you all are the one that's are delusional and crazy. I mean, they
right.
really want to try to like erase things and act like they just great people, but they aren't. They have been historically horrible people and they still are.
Hey, you
And I
know,
mean, does that account for everybody? No. But
the
if
majority
you
of
right,
history,
if you
yes, yeah,
participate, whether you are an active participant or you are a silent bystander, that accounts for the majority of you
Mm.
all,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Because even if you don't participate and you just stand by and let it happen, or you make the choice to be ignorant and turn a blind eye to it, you're just as bad. So yeah, you guys have historically been bad and you still are. It's just in y'all genes.
yeah. And the crazy part about it is they documented it, and when you know about it and tell them about it, they don't believe it. The people they actually wrote down what they've done,
Right.
all the horrible
They
atrocities that they've
appalled
did,
at themselves.
and
That's
then
different though. That's states' rights though. It's not the same thing.
but you get what I'm saying. Like it's wild to me, man. Like I said, they have a
Yeah.
very skewed version of everything that they've learned.
It's hard. It's when you have when your goal is to teach people about fairness and making things right, that does not square with the history of America. So when you
Not
have
even
to
a
Right.
little.
Certainly.
yeah, when you have to teach the history of America, when you're teaching these children, you got to go to the apple tree or whatever. Because if you go to the reality of it, telling these kids that George Washington had teeth made out of slaves' teeth. I mean, like that's not the dentures made out of slaves' teeth. It's not gonna jive. It's gonna be like, well, what are we, why are we
Yeah.
celebrating this person? We got to digress from this point. Takara. So from
Yeah.
idea of police presence and it being a ploy, what say you?
Uh, it's a tough one. I mean, to a certain extent, I think is necessary. But then I think that really what you have to look at is what would you like the outcome to be? And if the outcome is to change neighborhoods and improve neighborhoods, it's not doing that. We know that, right? Like it doesn't
Yeah,
change things
been
because
years.
policing, yeah, like I mean,
Yeah.
arresting people, putting them in jail. I mean, there's no improvement, right? There's no prevention plan or anything like that. So if you aren't doing those things, I mean, policing is just policing and it's putting people in jail. I mean, it's a band-aid. So, I mean, the idea of if it's a ploy versus what was the other option? Uh,
It was necessary. Necessary,
oh,
or was it a
if
ploy?
it's necessary. I mean, I guess just for people maybe to feel safe to some degree, right? Like you may feel better going into a convenience store or a gas station if you know that okay, the police are present, because in affluent neighborhoods they present too for a different reason,
Mm.
right? Like if you think about like once you hit 6 p.m. and you go to like a mall in an affluent neighborhood, because they want to keep the congregation of young people who are more likely to cause problems, even in affluent neighborhoods. They
Hmm.
there. So those, rich affluent shoppers feel better because it's like, well, they can't congregate in these neighborhoods. So, that may look more like prevention, like it's necessary.
Mhm.
But in lower income neighborhoods, I don't feel like they are really looking for change. It's just let's just catch people when they're doing things and put them in jail.
You
So if
said,
you,
yeah.
yeah,
No, you saying what you said. It made me want to ask the question of like, do people feel safer than when they see the police in these neighborhoods? Do you think it's a function of like if they saw, like, let's say that they were in a crime-ridden area and they saw police, do you think that they would see them and be like, oh, thank goodness the police are here? Or do you think it's like a different kind of, it's not like exactly a relief. You know what I mean? Like it
like a
doesn't seem like it
different
would be a relief
connotation.
because of, yeah, because they're just as dangerous to them, I guess, in some cases as the criminals are, and maybe in other cases even more so.
Well, I think that's gonna it's gonna be it. I think it depends.
Yeah.
I don't think
No, that's
there's
fair.
really like one answer to that. No matter what neighborhood I'm in, I don't want to go to the gas station at night. I don't care if I'm in an affluent neighborhood. I don't care if I'm in a poor neighborhood, but I think it depends on what kind of citizen you are and what you're doing. I think if you're there and you minding your business, you probably feel better. Like, well, I'm not gonna, somebody's not gonna
Hmm.
try to rob me. At least
Hmm.
not while the police are sitting there, right?
Right.
But
Right.
then, okay, like you said, like you go into a casino or something, which those are in affluent neighborhoods. But then, can somebody follow you home?
Hmm.
Police not around, right?
Hmm.
But if the police are there, they would intervene if something bad is happening. So, I mean, if you are talking about just the instantaneous like safety in a situation that could be risky, I think there may be a purpose. But if you're looking at the outcome of, cleaning up neighborhoods, I don't know, it's just performative, maybe.
Mm.
That's good. That's fair. Greg.
Um, it's kind of a necessary evil because you need law enforcement everywhere. So there has to be some kind of law enforcement there. Unfortunately, I don't think you feel safe seeing the police until you reach a certain age
Mm.
in those kind of neighborhoods. And that age is you got to be gray all over before you feel okay with it. Because even if you are a victim of something that's going down and the police show up, everyone's going to jail regardless.
Mm.
It don't matter if you in trouble or not, or you started it or not. Whatever's going on, everyone's going to jail, and they have all these little laws and everything that can basically being alive in some places is basically a crime. You know what they
Mm.
can? How many people it takes to have it be considered a gang? Do y'all know this?
No.
Three
Mm-mm.
people. 3 people gathered is considered a gang. When's the last time you walked outside with less than 2 of your friends? Like really, as a young man,
And moved
as a young
around,
man,
like
yeah,
moved around. I still
that's
don't do
what
that to this day.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. As a young man, you always got at least 1 or 2 friends with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So,
now you're a gang. That's
so
how easy it is to get caught up.
So let me ask you this, Greg, because let's take that a little bit further.
Mhm.
And even with you, Aj, or even myself, you said more than three. So what's the definition of three people? You know what I'm saying? I got a family of five.
That's
Are we automatically a gang when we walk out? We're talking we're all
Well,
older,
that depends on what neighborhood you're in.
and
right?
also if you walk abreast in the mall, because we know that they don't like that.
Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying is, yeah, a family of five is not considered a gang unless they want to consider it a gang.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, trumped up charges. You can get charged with a resisting arrest.
Whoa. You're using the T word here. What, not playing.
Go ahead.
Biden up charges.
That's ridiculous. That's preposterous. That's
Yeah, it is. but like, and that's really the problem with it is how easy it is to have somebody put in handcuffs. There are people that are in jail for resisting arrest that didn't commit a crime to be arrested for.
correct.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
That's correct.
So if the intentions were pure of these police that are there, and I'm not saying every police in these neighborhoods is a terrible person.
Right.
Some of them give it a shot. Some of them really try.
Give it a 2 month shot, right?
Some of them give it a real shot. But for the most part, if you're there to basically harass and keep people in line, then it goes off the rails real quick. And that's why a group like the Black Panthers was so dangerous to them, because they could actually keep a neighborhood in line.
Yeah.
And there'd be no need for their presence in there. And you have to have someone in there to keep an eye on us because,
You're right.
we're all scary, apparently.
Right. And they're not meeting their quotas anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
not to mention that you
Yeah.
got to meet quotas. And if and some of these jails got to get this money. These are profit jails now.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to go down for these things.
Yep.
And besides, we all know the police and they're not there to really protect the people. That's what they say. They're there to protect property and the interests of rich people. That's what this really is about.
Let's go to the website. Let's go to the website. Guy on the couch, what do you got for question number 2?
Sweetness believes.
No, what's going on here?
I know, right?
No, I don't think it's necessary for a heavy police presence in all Black neighborhoods or impoverished communities unless the people cannot police themselves. The way that we're structured within our own communities as individuals opposed to a village, we tend to need outside help. If we as people pull together and monitor and control crime, there will be no need. Look back during the times of segregation. We were once like that.
That's an interesting point. What do you guys think from a sweetness?
We a long way from that place.
Yeah.
That's a fair thing to say.
I like sweetness. What's the name?
Sweetness. Sweetness
I
is
like
the name.
sweetness's intentions. This is getting out of hand. I enjoy their intentions, but like Takara said, we're some ways away.
Let's just go.
We're a long way,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
we can't police ourselves. I think there's capacity to do so. That's not what I'm talking about, right? Can we do it? Yeah, absolutely. But if you're engaging in those things, then how would there was episodes of The Chi that talked about this, that explored this idea of people, policing themselves in these neighborhoods. And then of course, obviously it was like, led by men. So there's going to be aggression, there's going to be, challenges, there's going to be gang members and
Always a
crime
bias. There's always a bias there.
Yeah, so then it's like, but then how do you avoid that? Because there's going to be, there's always these like innocent victims. You can't get around that. So, you would need obviously diversity, which, they definitely working on getting rid of that, like you would need diversity to, even figure out like what actually would be the solution to this. But like you say, and then like, okay, but then how do you get to the solution? Like you say, what's going to be like the intervention? Because we have the capacity to do it, but we got to all be on the same page. And, I kind of always tend to go back to like that socioeconomic aspect of if our immediate needs are not met, it's going to be hard for people to make sometimes the right choice. I mean, that's just the reality of it. It's not always if you're a good person or a bad person. Sometimes people are doing things that are illegal out of necessity to
But put in
survive.
a position to where they have to do what they
Right.
do. Yeah,
Yeah. And then some
Yeah.
people are bad people and they need to
Hmm.
be in prison where
that's
they
true.
belong.
That's true too. Wow, that's an aggressive ending.
I
Uh,
mean, I hate to say that about some of us, but it's true, you know.
I mean, truth is truth. No one's
But
gonna
that
fight.
is a smaller number. I do believe that's a smaller number of people.
Yeah.
Um,
In most of those kind of neighborhoods and situations, it's like 5% of the neighborhood causing
right.
all the ruckus,
I
if
don't.
that
Yeah,
many.
yeah. There was a study. You guys remember the movie Coach Carter? I
Hmm.
think it was
Hmm.
the same area. I think it was Richmond, where they did a
Yeah.
study where they have like this crime intervention group or whatever, full of these ex-cons and stuff like that. But they went around and they basically did the knowledge as far as like the city goes. And Richmond is like an area that is nationally known for crime, being crime ridden and all this other stuff. And when they went down and broke down the actual people who were committing crimes, it was like 75 people in
Yeah.
this town. It was like out of a town of like 100,000 people, it was like 75 dudes who just were unruly, which is not a lot, but it just goes to show what can happen, if you allow, I guess, an element to run amok, so to speak. And now
Well,
you're over everyone's over
so,
policed and
like I
everyone,
said,
you're
I
not even
put that on
critical.
law enforcement because if these guys can figure out it was 75 guys, and what have they been doing?
No comment. I mean, like, what do you want me to say about
You're
that?
right.
They should. That's real police work, right? Like
Yeah.
like figuring that out is the real police work. But they don't do that. They do stuff that's gonna make money for the state. They do stuff that's seen. It's the broken windows thing, as Darian had mentioned earlier. It's things that appear to be security, and a lot of times security is just that. It's an illusion of being safe. So. I digress. I turned into a panelist for a second. Let me go ahead and plug the website, which is www.blackadvancement.com, where you can see awesome things like the debates we have here. We have a debates tab where you can just go through and see all of those. Another thing you can do is see recommended websites. That's Black-owned businesses that we promote for free. The one that we want to plug today is Killing Negativity, Making Advancements, or KNMA Brand Co. It's a cool brother from out here in Maryland. It's his own company where he also not only is a physical trainer and he has clothing that goes along with it, but he tries to make changes through positivity and things of that nature. So really cool guy. If you ever get a chance to check out their gear, you should check it out. And last but not least, our book of the month. We do books of the month every month, including this one. And the one that we like to highlight actually goes back to something that was said earlier in this conversation, which is Three or More, a Riot. That's the name of the book, Three or More, a
Mm.
Riot. With that said, we will go on to our final question. Our final question: how would you characterize your personal interactions with the justice system, and what do you feel is the biggest problem with it? Takara.
Well, I've had good experiences with the justice system. However, you probably would know that from the way I talk today, because this is what white people need to understand. Just because my experiences have not been bad does not mean that other people's experiences have not
That's
been
correct.
bad. I do believe that my experiences would be different if I were a black man. I do
Mm,
believe that my experiences would be different if I was not as aesthetically pleasing.
mm,
I do believe that my experience would potentially be different if I did not grow up in a two-parent household, in, a middle class, a family. I think that my experiences would be not good experiences is what I think
That's fair.
would happen. I really truly do believe that, even though I do have a brother, and I'm saying this because I do have a brother who was attacked by the police.
Mm,
So
mm.
we're two educated people, and my brother was the one who was attacked. My experience with the police is different, but it does not negate or invalidate what has happened to my counterparts, and you can't ignore that. So just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And then I would also I will add that I have been on jury. I have been on jury duty lots of
Yes.
times.
Yes.
We need to show up for jury duty
Yes.
because, if you would like to affect the outcome for your people, you need to be there so that you can it's a way for you to participate in the justice system. Because you do make those decisions. It is the jury that makes those decisions. If people take jury trials and not a plea deal, you have a better
That's
chance, in my experience.
no.
When you
You're
go to
100. That's
jury,
100%.
go to trial,
That's 100%.
and I'm in there.
Yeah, that's 100. That's 100%. Greg,
My experiences with law enforcement.
I know.
uh,
Just,
some have been what I call normal, and others have been not not so good, to say the least. Handcuffed, sat on the curb, had stuff thrown out of my car, things of that nature. But what are you gonna do? All you do is sit there, be calm, and try not to end up in the pokey. That's all you can do. So,
got you in the pokey talking about Tua.
yeah, I got to be in there telling people that I know the quarter blood technique and everything else. But but yeah, some of my experiences, I've had at least 3 or 4 experiences where it's just like, yo, man, is this Selma? What the hell is going on over here? So, and it was for very, very minute things. One time I was pulled over and I had 5 cops swarm me, take us all out and handcuff us and run through my car because I did not use a turn signal in the turn lane. That happened. There was another time where
the lane where it's like you're
where
in
the arrow was
two-turn.
turning.
Yeah.
That has the arrow that's turning, and I didn't put on my turn signal.
I just
So
wanted to make
I
sure I was
assumed
on.
that you didn't need your turn signal for that.
I just wanted to make sure I was on the same level.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that happened. There was one time when I was with someone who was, I'll say this, he was known in these streets, but he had not. He's been inactive for years. So I was with him, and we got pulled over, and same deal, handcuffed, stuff tossed all out of my car and everything else, and then I was told I would be arrested if I didn't clean up everything, and I'd get a littering ticket and all kinds of other stuff, that kind of stuff. And I was like, how am I getting the littering ticket when you're clearly the one that threw the stuff? And
Right.
where that led to. All of a sudden, I'm a nigga. So,
Well, you ask questions. I mean, like, what are you doing?
Let your smart mouth, nigga. It went to that.
Watch out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then, there's been 1 or 2 other times where there's a shooting nearby, and apparently I didn't know when you go to a stop sign, your tires can't be on the white line. So that was a reason to also pull me over and handcuff me. Luckily, the cop had literally just searched me from leaving 7-Eleven. So he knew me. So he knew I was clean.
I mean to laugh, but
and the funny thing, I know you're laughing because you know all this stuff is true.
yeah,
Right.
You know all this stuff is true. So those are the experiences I've had. They're like, oh, it's you again. Put your hands where I can see them. You know the routine. I was like, dude, you just saw me. I'm pretty sure he was like, yo, look.
And this is what's happening to our veterans.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
It's like you served your country. You don't deserve this, treatment.
Nah.
Not for your service.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not right. It really
not only
is.
was I in the service, I was in law enforcement in the service. So that's the job that I ended up in because somebody was in a rush to get in and get out of this town and didn't bother to pick a job. So they just picked it for me. And I'll tell you right now, I thought the cops were scum, and then I worked with the cops, and I knew for sure. I'm 100% sure they're garbage.
I think we should move on to Darian. Darian, go ahead. Darian, what about you?
Well, My personal philosophy. Now, I'll say this: I haven't had um, interactions with the cops that were wholly detrimental. They're just more annoyances than anything else. But to the point that what I land on as far as my interaction with law enforcement is unless I call you, you know what I'm saying? There's no need for us to interact. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I mean, I know for myself, how I conduct myself, and I'm not doing anything illegal. And of course, everybody can say that, like to say that, but I know for a fact how I conduct myself. But it's like I will call for if I need you. You know what I'm saying? For your interaction, I don't need you following me around. I don't need you asking me why I'm doing this portion of town or XYZ. Anything extra from that, or can I talk to you or say none of that? I don't need none of that. Also to the point, and we're talking about ridiculous things getting pulled over. I once got pulled over because now there's two license plates lights on the back of my car. One of them was out, and I got pulled over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
much to like what Greg was saying, like, oh, you don't know if your wheels can't be on the line or you're in a turn signal. So there's the degree of things that they utilize. Even get back to the three-person thing of to be they go out of their way to try to foster interactions. That's why you have stuff like you mentioned about the jaywalking stuff and
Hmm.
other stuff where it's just totally unnecessary for you guys to be involved. Like do some real police work. You know what I'm saying? Not this stuff that you're doing right you're doing around in terms of harassing or fishing or for that kind of stuff. It shows lack of actual working. You know what I'm saying? Of
Yeah.
purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like you want
Yeah.
you want to protect and
Yeah. I know
serve.
what you're
Like
saying.
like try to actually again talk to the community, see what the community needs are. Because I'm also of the belief that one policy is not also what's needed to police every place. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Communities are different, and so when you have police that are in tune with the community, you can understand what the needs are to say maybe we need to have more heavier presence, maybe we don't. You know what I'm saying? It's not a one overall thing. I know we love to have these systems that can cover all different things, but that's not always the case when you get down to some certain things. Sometimes you can have things that can operate in a blanket manner. Some things you're going to need a lot more defined approach to get to accomplish a task, and even that comes with security of community or even policing a community is concerned, and that involves work. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just, and it also involves resources too that you might have to bring to bear. But overall, I think my favorite police interaction actually involves Greg too. Um, I think he knows
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
remember.
talking
Shocker.
about. So years ago, yeah, Greg was over my house, and there was a car that came that barreled down the street and hit my brother's and my parked car. Like hit my brother's car first and smashed my brother's car into my car. And Greg just happened to be there. We were there when the accident happened, and it just so happened, come to find out, it was a illegal immigrant who
I knew it. I swear.
yeah, yeah, no, it was a legal immigrant. I mean, like we didn't know this till like after well, not during the car, but so it was so funny. I remember looking out the window, seeing the guy jump out of the car. I know he noticed us in the window, and he started running off, right? And then and so actually, Greg was able to utilize some of his law enforcement tact and skill to confront
Subdue.
the guy and convince him to come back to the scene. Of which, by that point in time, I called the police.
By what
Um,
you mean threatening ass whipping? It was go
well,
back
man,
and take these
Well,
hammers.
well, listen,
subdue, I think is the word.
no. Listen, so no,
Yeah, those were his
so
options. You can come back and
the,
take these hammers, homie.
well, look, that was the actual when the police officer came to me. He said, "Hey, we think this guy, he doesn't have, he's illegal. He doesn't have any um, car insurance. Run down this list." And he was like, and the officer was like, said, he's like, if it was up to me, he's like, I'd beat his ass.
Yeah.
Really? That's your answer. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying those words verbatim. That was the police officer's response to
That was
me.
his. That's exactly what he said.
Exactly. See, I can
Yep.
verify that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
it's like, oh, okay. Is that your I'm thinking, is that the answer? Your answer for everything. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Huh.
so
See, the funny part is, had we done that, we'd all be in jail.
Yeah.
yeah, how about it?
Yes.
How about it? You
And
know
I'd
what
be
I'm
like,
saying?
but Officer Dugan said.
Right.
I ain't gonna hear that.
Right.
So
That's
that I'll leave that story with you as my overall
Yeah,
interaction.
but hold on, let me finish up. But in the end of that, didn't they end up harassing you guys at the end of the
Oh,
day about the whole thing? And
well,
that's why black interactions with the police is crazy. You call the police, sometimes
oh,
you end up
so
in some bullshit.
so let's get to the system part of it, right? So okay, so they ended up arresting the guy, right? They come to the trial, and so okay, mind you, I'm the victim. Me and my brother are the victim in this, right? The county DA, they send a subpoena to us, compelling us to come to the trial and testify. Not,
why wouldn't you?
hey, listen, not hey, we try to reach out to you, you know what I'm saying? A
Right,
subpoena. And so afterwards, I was pretty pissed about that. My brother and I, we talked to them afterwards. It's like, hey, dude, nobody from your office tried to reach out to us about this trial. You know what I'm
right.
saying? To say to get a statement from us to do any of that stuff. But you send a bench subpoena
A
that like we
bench
don't
warrant,
a bench warrant
provisional.
that we don't show up that that we could be arrested again. To Greg's thing that we could all be arrested at all this. I'm like, I don't need we. All you have to do is ask for us to show. We were going to show up anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And then when we get there, it's not like they called us up. You know what I'm saying? Because what happened was the judge was like was reading off all the crimes that or the things they were charging the guy with, and the guy didn't have a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, "We're going to stay this
Did he
thing
have
because
an interpret? Did he have an interpreter
he had an
there?
interpreter,
Yeah,
but he
he
didn't
had
have
an.
a lawyer, and he was like, "Dude, you want to get a lawyer?" He's like, "You got some pretty heavy charges, so I'm gonna give you a
I was
moment."
told if you have a phone, you have a lawyer. Isn't that the
That's
no?
not a thing. That's
Okay.
not a thing.
Well,
That's
hold
not real.
up, hold up. No, no, actually, no. There's an app now that this black man had developed where
That
uh,
is a thing. Yes,
that
I
is
know
a thing.
exactly what you're talking
I
about.
forget the
Yeah.
name of it. I just found out that this recently where you can when you get pulled over, you can use this app to get an instant lawyer to be able to speak on your behalf to
Yes.
law enforcement. I
Yes, you
thought that
can.
this is one of the things where I think it's you know
That's brilliant.
that is brilliant in terms of utilizing the system.
I need that app.
Oh yeah, trust me, I downloaded it. You know what I'm saying? Or if I didn't, I'm going to because
We'll share the app after this.
yeah.
We'll share the app.
Now, whether they're respected or not, that's a whole different thing. But when you start, uh, that's the other part too. Once our experiences with the system also gives us some sort of education. It also, for like myself, forces me to educate myself more about the system. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I'm no lawyer. You know what I'm saying? I try to make sure I have some lawyer friends. You know what I'm saying that I can consult on certain aspects, and also family members who are been in the legal system as well, so that they are aware. Um, but that's the other thing that we have to do too. We have to be kind of cognizant, and I think that forces us to have more knowledge of how the system works and its effect on us. I mean, we and or like Takara was saying, we have experiences every day with it, for better or for worse.
Mhm.
But the fact that we still have experiences, no one, I don't think anybody on this panel can say we've never had to interact with the police. You know what I'm saying? For better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? And there's also some people who's like, yeah, I've never had the police, never pulled over, never. I've had colleagues been like, yeah, police have never come up to my door. They've never interacted with the police, and
Yeah.
I can rattle off a good 10 to 12, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's for tickets that I got for speeding or just them showing up to my house saying we got a noise complaint or something like that. And it's like, what are we talking about here? You know?
Well, let's go to the guy on the couch. Guy on the couch, what do you got for question number three?
Okay, this one is from Jay. I have had positive and negative relatively experience with the police, with law enforcement and the judicial system.
Okay.
I have been racially profiled,
Okay.
and I have also encountered generally good people who have helped me out. The biggest problem to me is personnel and screening. If you're a dirtbag before you're a cop, lawyer, or judge, you'll be a dirtbag as a cop, lawyer, or judge. So personnel is the biggest problem to me.
Thank you, guy on the couch. Uh, Jay, saying basically you are what you are before you get
Mm-hmm.
the badge. How do you guys feel about that?
Amen.
Well, they
Yep.
say
I
las
concur.
aren't really aware of this, but when it comes to trying to be a policeman, if you're too smart, they will reject you. That's just so you know that.
Mm.
That's they're looking for a certain group where you're just intelligent enough to do the paperwork, but not so intelligent that you'll overthink the system and try and change things. You know what I'm saying? So if you're too smart, they're not gonna hire
I
you, which
think
is crazy to me.
I think I'm gonna stop it right there. Not because I mean like that's kind of a dismount point. So we'll just go to the website, which is www.blackadvancement.com. I'm gonna plug a couple of the shows that we do. One of which is Hollywood. Still doing that. Still great reviews and stuff like that. Still a cool show. Another one is actually a newer show that we do. It's BA Book Club, where we take some of the books that we have from the book of the month and we do a review on it. Currently, we're doing Animal Farm and 12 Angry Men. Not that 12 Angry Men, another one. Um,
Animal
also,
dope
yeah,
book, love it.
yeah. Also, we have a donations page. We are a nonprofit after all. I mean, give us your money. Anyway, last second to last but not least is Black People You Should Know. The person that we'd like to highlight from our Black People You Should Know list, which is also on the website, is Judy Reed, who is the first Black woman to get a patent. And considering that March is Women's Month, I think that is apropos that we bring that forth. Last but not least is why the organization was created in the first place, and that was solutions and the things that we do. One of the solutions that I would like to point out that the organization is currently doing and has been doing for a while is the Black to School initiative. And the Black to School initiative has several different prongs to it. I'll just point out three of which that we've done like within the past year or so. We've helped pay down school lunch debt here for local schools. We've helped get supplies to new Black teachers and veteran Black teachers as well through our Black teacher backpack program. And also, we have tried to infiltrate the schools with qualified Black male substitute teachers in order to have more of a presence in that realm. With all that being said, thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and comment as well. Until next time, peace and what's up? Advance.
In the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised.